Hi guys, welcome to another creative arts episode, and today we're going to take a look at how we can use the pen tool in Corel. So the pen tool is an artistic tool that we can use to draw objects by using nodes, which are sometimes referred to as anchor points. So the pen tool is an important tool in Corel and it can be used for a variety of things. So in this tutorial we're going to take a look at how we can use the pen tool, and then we'll go ahead and draw a logo using the pen tool so that we can put to practice all that we would have learned. So this is the document that I'm going to be using to show you how to use the pen tool in Corel. So for us to get started, the first thing that we need to do is to select the pen tool. So just go to your toolbox where you normally find the freehand tool, and just go ahead and click on that small black triangle there in the corner, and then it will give you all the other tools available for that section, and then just select the pen tool. And after you've done that, you are ready to start drawing your objects using the pen tool. So the first thing that you need to understand is that the pen tool uses nodes and lines to draw shapes. So every other object that you're going to be drawing, you're going to be using nodes or anchor points and lines. So again, every other object that you're going to be using will always have a starting node and an ending node, and sometimes the starting node can be the end point again. So let's start with something simple. Let's try to draw a rectangle using the pen tool. So the first thing that we want to do is to create the starting node or the starting point. So just go ahead and click anywhere on my document, and then it will create that node for me. As you can see with the pen tool, when you create a node, there will be a line extending from that node. So we're going to be using these nodes and these lines to create an object. So let's try to create a rectangle. So I'll just go ahead and click another line here. It will create another point or another node, which will be my second node. As you can see, we now have a line extending from the first node that we created to the second node. So I'll go ahead and create another node down here, since we want to create a rectangle, and then need to add another one. So one thing that you might have noticed by now is that when using the pen tool, as long as we haven't ended, or as long as we haven't marked a node as the ending point, the drawing itself will always continue, which means that we're always going to get a line extending from the previous node, and it means that we can create another node using the pen tool, as you can see here. So let's go ahead and create another one. So I'll just go ahead and click here, and now to end our drawing, or to close the drawing that we have been drawing, we simply need to click again on the starting node, and then it will create that object for us. So what we did here is we created a rectangle, or maybe it's fair enough to say something that's close to a rectangle, because our lines here are not straight and it's pretty messed up. So we have our rectangle like that, and after you've created your object, you can fill it, you can do anything that you want with it after you've done that. So let's try to fix one thing with the pen tool. Let's try to eliminate the idea of having lines like this, and maybe we can try to create perfect straight lines. So how can we do that using the pen tool? So I will go ahead and select the pen tool again, and then create my starting point. So again, as you might have noticed, every drawing that we have will always have a starting point or a starting node. So what we're going to do now is to hold shift on the keyboard. Holding shift on the keyboard, it will guarantee us to have straight lines on the horizontal line like that. As you can see, we have a perfect straight line, because what shift is doing is that it locks the lines to a 15-degree angle. So from the node that we have, the lines are moving on a 15-degree angle. So if I move it on the horizontal like that, as you can see, I have a perfect line just like that. So this will allow us to draw a better rectangle this time. So let's go ahead and create the second node right here. Hold shift again, and then you do create a perfect line, and remember that they always move in a 15-degree angle rotation. So again, I'll just go ahead and click here to create another straight line, and then I'll just go ahead and click right about there, and then we can close our drawing just like that, which brings us again to another point. So as you might have noticed, we were trying to draw a rectangle, and this one looks much better than the first one. But the problem that we're having is that this line here is not straight. Why? Because this point here is not perfectly aligned with this one. So how can we fix that in Corel? Well, it's quite easy. All you have to do now is to go ahead and select the shape tool, and then just go ahead and select the point that you want to move. So I'll just click on this one, and then just try to move it until I have a straight line just like that. And after we've done that, now we have a perfect rectangle. Remember that to create rectangles you can always use the rectangle tool, but we were just trying to show you how you can do that using the pen tool. Alright, so we have covered two of the most important basics here about the pen tool, about using the shift key on your keyboard to lock it at 15-degree angle, and how you can create other nodes using the pen, a shape using the pen tool. So which brings us to another question. Sometimes you want to create just a simple line. So it means that the first or the starting point here that we're going to create will be the beginning of that line, and then the second node that we're going to create will be the end node. So let's try and do this. So I'll go ahead and click here to create my straight line, hold shift, move my mouse here, and then I'll add another node just like that. So as you might have noticed now, our drawing still continues, but what's going on here is that we want this last node that we created to be the last node of the drawing. So what I'm going to do to eliminate this, or to end or to break this drawing, I'll just go ahead and hold Control on the keyboard and then just click anywhere. As you can see now, we have a perfect straight line, and this was the starting point and this was the end point. So you can apply this concept to any shape that you want to draw. Maybe I can add one point here, another point here, and then another one here, but what I want is to have this one as the end point. So I'll just hold Control and then just click anywhere, and then it will break the drawing just like that, and then I have this object and I can do more stuff with it. So another way to do that is you can simply double click. So I'll select my pen tool again, click this point to create a starting point, and then once I'm here I'll just double click, and then it will give me that instead of holding Control and click. So it goes on to preference. Which one do you prefer the most, holding Control and then clicking anywhere, or just double clicking? So that's up to you. So that's how you can draw straight lines using the pen tool, or that's how you can draw lines using the pen tool. So sometimes again you might not want to draw lines only, you want to draw curves as well, because most of the things that you're going to be using the pen tool for, most of the time it involves curves. So how do you draw curves when using the pen tool? So again, the first thing that we need to do is to create a starting point, and then I'll create the second one. But when we create the second one, we don't want to let go of the left click on our mouse, so we're just going to click and then hold. So I'll do that, and then I'll start dragging that line just like that. So what we are actually dragging here are the control points, which are these blue lines that we have here that extend from the node that we created. So those lines are the ones that we use to create the curve just like that. And again, you can always hold shift, and then you can just move it at a 15-degree angle respective to the point that we last created, just like that. So you can create things like a sphere from this idea, or I don't know, anything that you want that involves curves by just using this technique. So after you're satisfied with the curve itself, you can just let go. And now one thing that you need to notice is that instead of having a straight line extension from a curve, the pen tool will give us a curved line itself. So what we can do now is I can just go ahead and click here, and then the other line I can just go ahead and draw here like that, and I'll just go ahead and draw my terrible circle just like that. But yeah, you guys, you get the idea, just like that. And again, you can always break it just in the same manner as we did with those lines, the straight lines. So again, this is how you can use draw the curves using the pen tool. So another concept is that sometimes when you're drawing curves, or when you're drawing your shapes, you want to extend from a curve a straight line, or you want to have a straight line after you've created a curve. So let's take a look at an example. I'll create a guideline just like this, and select my pen tool, and I'll put my first node right here. So I'll go ahead and create the second one at this point, and then just drag like that to create a curve. So as you can see, we have a nice curve like that. But once I let go of that, then I'll have again another curve. So what's going on here is that I want a straight line instead of a curve. So what you need to do is to reset the control point that you just created, or the last one, which is this one. So to do that, you hold Alt on your keyboard, move your icon toward the last node that we created there, and then just click once, and then you have a straight line extending from that node. So what we did is we simply reset the line or the control point that we had that extended in this direction. So now I can go ahead and put this line here, and then I can close my drawing here, and now I have my shape, and I can just go ahead and delete this guideline that I created, and I have a shape like this. So what happened here is that we created a straight line, or we drew a straight line that was extended from a curved line, just like that. So those are some of the tips that you need to keep in mind when using the pen tool. So let's take a look at the last thing, or one of the last things that we want to talk about the pen tool. So I'll go ahead and create a guideline like this, and then I'll go ahead and create another one right about there. I want to show you something. So let's say that you are drawing your object, and then you click here to create your starting point, and then you have your nice shape, your nice curve, just like that. And then after, while you're still holding your control like that, or the control points, then you discover that no, you really wanted this point to be on this guideline, not on this one. So how do you move it now to that point? Well, it's quite easy. Just hold Alt on your keyboard, and then just move your mouse while it's still holding. As you can see, it will move the point, and then just place it anywhere you want. And to place it, just let go of Alt, and then it will be there again, and then you can alter the curve just the way you want it, and then just let go. So we can just go ahead and end this drawing right here. So that's one thing that you can do again to move the point if you place it at a point where you don't want. So I'll just go ahead and delete again these guidelines. So now we're going to use these simple things that we learned to just draw a simple logo using the pen tool. So there's a lot to that you can do when using pen tools. Other things, we'll cover them in the next tutorials, but for now these are just the basic stuff, or the most important things that we need to learn for us to get started with using the pen tool. So let's try to draw, or let's try to trace a logo using the pen tool, using only the information that we have learned so far in this tutorial. So sometimes you might want to trace something. So what I did is I have already sketched out a logo that I want to trace for this tutorial. So I'll go ahead and import the image. So to import the image, just go to File, and then Import, and then just select the image that you want, and then import it into your drawing. And I'll just go ahead and draw it right about there, just like that. So this is the logo that I just sketched out, a simple one of letter P. And what we want to do is to trace this in Corel to make it a vector object. So how do we do that? Well, these are some of the things that I use the pen tool for. So the first thing that you want to do is to place your drawing perfectly where you want it, just like that, and go to Object, and then lock this drawing so that it won't move around when we are playing around with things here. So we'll go ahead again now and select the pen tool, and then we'll just try and use all that we have learned so far to try and draw this logo. So as usual, we always need a starting point. So do not worry too much about failing or not being able to trace it. With the pen tool, it takes a lot of practice, and before you know it, you'll be comfortable with it. So we're going to try and create we can just choose anywhere we can put it, but I'll just put my starting point here. So I'll just go ahead and click here, and now I can just hold Shift, since I know that this is a straight line that I want. So I'll just hold Shift instead of trying to draw it without holding Shift. So I'll hold Shift so that I will have a perfect line like that, and I hope you guys can see that. And then I'll just go ahead and click at this point once I get to the point that I want to go to. Okay, let me change something real quick. I want to change the style of that line to this. Okay, let's start again. So I'll create my starting point right here, and then just hold Shift, and then just go ahead and click here again. So I have a nice line like that extending from my starting point. And now we can just zoom in a bit, and then just go ahead and click the next one right here. And then we'll just repeat the same process. But what you want to notice is that at this point we have a curve at this point. So the trick here is to try and put the next node just about close where this line is still a straight line. So just try and put it close to the curve as much as possible. So I'll just go ahead and put it somewhere right there. And now we want to create this curve right here. So what we're going to do now is to click at this point where the straight line starts, and then maybe we can just extend and then make this line here a curve just like that. Alright, and don't worry about it if it's not perfect. If you feel like you can make it better, you can always just click on, you can just press Ctrl Z to undo, and then you can redraw it again. But again, if you feel like it's close, just let it go, and then later on you can come back with the shape tool and then make it perfect. So once you have done that, just go ahead, and now we want a straight line again. As you can see, we have a curve from another curve, so we want a straight line. I'll just go ahead and hold Alt on the keyboard, click on the last point that we created, and now we have a straight line. And with this straight line, I want to hold Shift again to create a straight line, as you can see right about there. So as you can see, if I hold Shift right here, my line here is not aligned now to the one that's on the drawing. Well, that's because my drawing itself, there might be I might have drawn a bad straight line there. The line itself might not be straight, because this line that we have from the pen tool guaranteed that it's a straight line. So I'm just gonna try and improvise on that. So I'll just go ahead and click right about there, and again I'll just go ahead and click here, and then just drag this one till we have a curve that we're looking for, something like that. And again, what I want to do is to okay, wait, let me just go back to that. Let me redraw that curve that I just removed there. And now let me just drag this down. Now we want to reset this line again, so I'll hold Alt on the keyboard, just click on this node, and then we can move again to this point and to get to that point, and then just click again. And then we just repeat the same process just like that. And here we'll hold Shift again since it's a straight line, and we'll do the same thing here until we close the shape and we have our shape like that. So that's the first shape that we have. So now let's move on to the other shape that we're going to create, which is the P inside here. So I just like to trace it out again, and I'll just start to repeat the same process that I did. Hold Shift there for every straight line, hold Shift again, do that, and hold Shift till I'm close to the curve that I want to create, just like that. And here I want to create a curve just like that, and I'll reset the curve right here because I want a straight line. Hold Shift to create a straight line like that up to about that point, and then again just click here and then create a curve just like that. And I would like to reset that since I'm going to create a straight line, and then again I'll create another point right here. Let me just move this down a bit, and then we hold Shift again, and then we create another point like that, and then we can just go ahead and close the drawing just like that. And then we do again the same process for this line. So we'll just go ahead and repeat again here. We'll just start there. Maybe we can start down there. Okay, let me start here and hold Shift to create a straight line. As you can see, my drawing was really bad. Maybe it's the scan that's not positioned well, but again I'll just go ahead and create another line here, create a curve right there, something like that, reset it because we want a straight line, and then hold Shift to create a straight line, and we can just go ahead and do the same thing over and over again till we have that. So we have closed now our drawing just like that. So we can just go to object again, lock and unlock all objects, and now we don't need our sketch anymore because we have the perfect tracing that we just did using the pen tool, just like that. But now we want to make it better, or we want to perfect it, because the distance between these shapes is not equal and some of the lines are not looking so good. So how do you do that? Well, it now goes to your own preference. So for example, what you can do is this: you can go ahead and use guidelines. For example, I can create a guideline like that, and then I'll just snap it right here. So with this guideline here created, I know that this part here, or this line here on my inner shape here, should be aligned again with this line, as it should be aligned to this line as well. So now let me make sure snap to guidelines is checked, and now I can move this line so that it snaps on this one. But before I do that, I want to create a straight line. So let me not use the pen tool now, I'll use the freehand tool. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's go ahead and create a line here, or click here. I'll just choose this line as my guideline line. So just go ahead and put a line like that, extend it. We're going to change its outline color to red so that we know that it's a guideline. So I have that line like that. So I'll just duplicate this one and then just move it here. So what I also want is that this line should be the same as this one. So I'll just go ahead and move this one and then just place it right here. And then we have something like that. So we know that this part that we created is now aligned to this line. And now we can just go ahead and fix everything else that we have. So that's how you trace things using the pen tool, and then you can go ahead and invest more time to make it better. For example, this line on top here, we can just go ahead and change this point using the shape tool and then just bring it here because it wasn't perfectly aligned with this one. So we can just move it right here. Right, and then we can fix everything else using the same technique. And you can create a rectangle to make sure that all the rectangle that you can use to judge the distance between this line and this one on all the sides of these shapes. So we are going to perfect this logo in the next tutorial, but for this tutorial we only wanted to focus on how you can trace a logo that you might have sketched out, or to trace anything using the pen tool, and then you can use the shape tool to perfect it later. So that's all for this tutorial, guys. Be sure to check out the next one when we're going to perfect this logo and then prepare it before we send it to our clients, and that will be interesting. So again, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share this video, comment, and tell me what you think about this tutorial. If anything wasn't clear, comment below and I'll try to address that in the next tutorial. And again, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial.